Whew, there we go. It's focused. Hey. Hey. Okay. So often we fixate on the cycles that have kept us stuck. But what if, instead of that, you focused on the cycles that have made you who you are? The cycles of your growth. For example, for me, one of the cycles that I go through is I question myself. I get myself to commit to things that don't align. And then I have I have to muster up the courage to decide to leave the thing I committed to start over again. And that looks like a negative cycle, right? But it's one that time and time again leads me to a deeper level of myself. And it's one that I'm actually proud of, because there will come a time, if there hasn't already, that I will not question myself. And I will not put myself in situations or things that don't align because I'm lost. I don't know what to do next. Because the consequences of committing to something that genuinely doesn't fully align are much higher, and sticking it out. If I stuck it out, those decisions, I wouldn't have the freedom that I have today. I wouldn't have the life experiences that I have today. And I wouldn't be able to talk on the subject in the way that I can right now. So life, God has guided me as a human being to be able to be blessed through my human experience, to be able to show the way to others, and not show the way necessarily that they can follow my exact experience, but that they can learn from my mistakes as well, and all the gems that I've learned along the way through these lessons. So I challenge you to look at the cycles that have made you who you are. And I'll give a good example of this in my life. When I turned 19 or 18, I prayed. I had a very profound God experience, and I prayed. I was like, Jesus, if you're real, bring me women of faith. And literally a week later, I'm at a coffee shop, and a girl calls to me, and she's like, hey, I like your boots. I'm like, hey, so we start having this conversation. I share with her some of the things that I'm passionate about. She shares the same. And immediately she calls her friend. She's like, you have to meet this girl. She has a very similar vision. That night I stayed over their house. I was like, immediately God brought me women of faith. Literally, the next week they were launching a ministry out of a coffee shop. And I started my journey in ministry a week later. And it was probably one of the most rich periods of my life. I was in college, but I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I didn't really want to be there. I was told I should be there. And so I ended up withdrawing from school. And only a few months later, I ended up in a abusive relationship, which took me away from ministry, which took me away from my friendships, which took me into a state of such deprivation from myself, and my self-esteem plummeted, and I ended up working in a factory and got electrocuted multiple times. You think working in a chocolate factory would be special? It wasn't. It was not. And so I decided to enroll back into school because I didn't know what else to do, and I ended up I got this internship for the National Society of Leadership and Success. And I did those things because I really didn't have community anymore. I really didn't feel connected to myself. And by the grace of God, that relationship ended. He ended up moving to the other side of the country, which thank God it was not good. And so here I was at this period of time where I was in school, but I didn't want to be. I got this internship. I was not in the headspace to be. It just didn't feel authentic to me. And so I ended up getting back with my friends, which was really hard for me because I was mentally abused about it. Like seeing my friends and how I was told all these things, and it was just really manipulative. So I finally mustered up the courage to see my friends, and they were like, oh my God, like, we're going to Texas in a week. Like, you should come with us. We'll get your ticket right now. I'm like, okay, I'll go to Texas. I'm like, I can't, I need some time to really find out what it is that I want for myself. Like, this was so hard on me. Like, I don't think I'd be able to put myself into studies. And so I told my family that I was leaving school again, and they're like, you're not going to do anything in your life. You're never going to have a good job or good opportunity to live well. And they're like, you're going to be homeless, you're going to be prostitute. They said some like really not cool things. They were just afraid for me. So I understand. But I'm saying this with you because I had to muster up the courage to say, actually, this isn't what I want. I'm going to redirect my life. And when I trusted and I took this journey, I landed in San Antonio, Texas, and there were thousands of white butterflies in the air. It was butterfly migration season. And my best friend looked at me and she was like, hey, I really feel like God's saying over your life, like, joy. Joy. And I was like, I am joy. And I decided on that trip to change my name, and I started introducing myself as Joy. And like, I would have never had that life transformational experience if I didn't have the courage to redirect myself back into alignment, to start again, even though it was scary, even though everyone told me to just stay where I was. The cycles of your liberation are much more important than the cycles that have kept you stuck. There's redemption found in the cycles of your liberation. So, I hope you choose to hold that in a way that edifies you and honors your human experience. We all came here to experience something, and it's an honor to learn through the messiness of life. But I hope you have the courage to say yes to you. I hope you have the courage to redirect when things went wrong. And I hope you have the courage to never forget that you are divinely loved and guided.